This is the new Mercedes GLA, whereas the earlier version was low-slung, sporty and targeted at a younger customer. Merc have now made this more practical. It's taller, it's got more space in the inside. Basically, it's more of an SUV. Question is just how practical is it and how much more entertaining is it to drive? The profile clearly proves it's more SUV-like compared to the earlier GLA. A lot of the added visual bulk comes from the higher roof, now a huge 10 centimeters up, and the squared wheel arches and the big 19-inch wheels work well too. The upright grille with its chrome pinheads even catches the light nicely. The GLA has a low-slung cowl that isn't as stand-up as something like a GLS, and then the roof starts to drop towards the rear. The rear isn't very exciting, but the white base and the individually sectioned LED lights do give it a fair amount of character. So with its long wheelbase, wider track and taller roof, is it more spacious in the back? Now in the previous gen GLA, space at the back was relatively cramped. But here, as you can see, there's plenty of legroom. The seat is set for me. You can put your feet under the seat. There's a decent amount of thigh support. The backrest isn't too upright, it's nicely reclined. You have a good amount of headroom and visibility out is pretty good too. So yes, you can use this back seat, and that makes the GLA, the new GLA, much more practical. To cool the cabin, you also get these click to close vents in the back, and there's a couple of USBs here too, but they're C-type again. What brightens up the cabin, however, is this big sunroof right above. And adding flexibility is the fact that you can pull the seat forward and get a bit more luggage room. Boot space isn't class leading, however. You get a maximum of 435 litres, and on the final production version there will be a purpose-built compartment for a space saver spare. But what we don't know is just how much space that will take up. Up front, however, there's a lot more space, and the design of the dash is pretty interesting. So on the inside, an interesting look. This deconstructed dash works particularly well. Nice big piece of metal here set at an angle. That's very different. These vents stuck in this piano black look superb. The functionality is great. They click on and off like this. Nicely lit from the inside. These two panels, they're set in the same plane, so they're easy to read. It's sharp. You get Mercedes' new MBUX that responds to your voice commands. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
And here on the center console, wireless charging, a couple of cup holders, and a fair-sized elbow box. It isn't too large, but it is pretty practical. What you don't get are regular USBs. The one here is the C-type, the ones inside and in the back, they're all C-type, so you will need an adapter. While these sporty seats are very supportive, they are a bit hard, but what I absolutely love is the solid build of this cabin. Just check out the door shut. Wow, it's definitely a Merc. While for the most part you can feel that rich Mercedes quality, some plastics like these lower down aren't too well built, and there is some kit missing on the new GLA. You surprisingly don't get any audio warning when you are going forward or reversing, because there are no proximity sensors, only a camera, and you need to take the key fob out of your pocket to unlock the doors. And while there is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it's not wireless. Still, there are features that delight as well. The MBUX system reduces fan speed when you're on a call or when you're using the Hey Mercedes voice prompt. You can vary the intensity and the color of the LED mood lighting, and you can also use Alexa and Google Voice to command the car from your home. In addition, the GLA also gets radar-based active brake assist that brakes for you if it senses you are going to hit an object. The GLA even gets front seats that make tiny movements of their own to help keep you comfortable. There's seat kinetics where you can select your seat, go into settings, select the surface, the backrest, the seat surface or both, and then select short, medium or long, and it adjusts the seat minutely so that your back and thighs remain comfortable. Also comfortable is the ride. Now the GLA rides pretty comfortably over bad patches. There's a nice suppleness to the suspension, doesn't toss you around too much. The only place where it sort of gets tripped up is over sharper and larger bumps. Once you go faster, however, the ride flattens out nicely. And also seriously fun is the responsive 190 horsepower diesel engine. Now this 220D engine doesn't have the smoothest idle. Start it up, and yes, that diesel pitter-patter is there, and it does sound a bit gravelly. But take off, get it to spin above 2000 RPM, and it smoothens out beautifully. What makes it so much fun is that power is always accessible and the engine is very responsive. Absolutely the best bit about this engine is the strong mid-range. Now the power band isn't very wide, but get on the throttle between 2,500 and 4,500 RPM and there's a strong seamless tug that sort of carries on even when you change gear. The 400 Nm of torque from just 1600 RPM clearly has a direct impact here. With the 4MATIC system helping traction off the line, the GLA hits 100 km an hour in a seriously quick 7.4 seconds. And that's almost half a second quicker than the BMW X1. What also impacts performance is the quick to respond 8-speed twin clutch gearbox that always seems to keep you in the power band by snapping up to the next gear. Acceleration as a result is relentless. What adds to driving pleasure is that the steering is pretty accurate. It has a fair amount of feel, and although the GLA tends to roll a bit in corners, agility and driving pleasure are pretty good. Once in the corner, there's a fair amount of grip, and what helps is that the rear axle chirps in on longer corners. In fact, the harder you drive it, the nicer it gets, which is sort of a surprise. Not only is the GLA entertaining to drive, it's light and easy to drive in traffic too. It moves as soon as you tap the throttle in traffic, the gearbox only slurs and hesitates occasionally, and the steering is light and easy to twirl too. The GLA when launched will be available in 3 different variants. This 220D gets a 190 horsepower diesel and 4MATIC or all-wheel drive. There's a petrol GLA that makes 163 horsepower and 250 Nm of torque. And we will also get a locally assembled 306 horsepower AMG 35 version of the GLA. Mercedes' new GLA, straight off the bat, is a more accomplished SUV. This is true in practically all areas. Space and comfort are much better to begin with. Performance is stronger, it's more enjoyable to drive, and even the quality and kit on the inside are superior. There are some features missing. The boot isn't very large, and this version is expected to be a bit more expensive than rivals at an expected price of between 43 and 45 lakhs. Still, if you're looking for a compact luxury SUV that delivers a strong all-round performance, Mercedes' new GLA has what it takes to be the best SUV in its class.